the top stories of the day. Rwanda in talks with U.S. over migration deal. Analysts say move shows commitment to global refugee solutions. Rwanda and DRC leaders are set to sign U.S.-hosted peace agreement in June, and analysts say success relies on DRC's political will. On the international scene, U.S. President Donald Trump has announced a 100% tariff on all movies produced outside the United States. My name is Olivnet, and it's always a pleasure to have you with us. Now straight to the news in details. The government of Rwanda has announced that it is in bilateral discussions with the United States about a potential migration deal. International relations analyst finds that it demonstrates Rwanda's willingness to contribute to finding global solutions to the refugee and migration crisis. Adam Squizera kicks us off tonight.
Since September 2019, Rwanda has been implementing a migration deal to receive asylum seekers who have been stranded in Libya, a deal that is still going on. Upon arrival at Kigali International Airport, they are welcomed and transferred to Gashoda Transit Camp, where they await legal processing before resettlement in the countries where they applied for asylum. Hunia Mohammed has spent nearly 9 years away from her home country of Eritrea. Although she is now safe in Rwanda, she recalls the hardships she endured before reaching the country.
I left Eritrea with my siblings and mother due to insecurity, fleeing to Sudan, where we spent 7 years trying to survive. However, life in Sudan was difficult, so we decided to go to Libya. I stayed in Libya for 1 year, but I faced severe hardships. My entire body was injured and I lost all my teeth. Eventually, I was evacuated from Libya to Rwanda.
These migrants say that arriving in Rwanda restores the hope they had lost in life.
Yeah, when I was coming from Libya, I was really happy because that place is really dangerous. I cannot say anything. We passed through a lot of hardship. To the time we heard that we are going to be taken to be evacuated to this place, we were really happy for that, and we are impressed. We felt like at the end of the day, God has heard our prayers that we are going to be rescued from the hardship that we are passing through within Libya. At least, according to what I have heard, that this place is safe more than that site.
They provided me with a house, a bed, a mattress, food, and everything I need. Having lived in different countries, including Eritrea, Sudan, and Libya, I can say that life here is truly good. I have no issues because I have access to medicine and all the basic necessities. I'm grateful to be in Rwanda as I live comfortably and enjoy good life. Both inside and outside the camp, we are treated well and have good relationships with the Rwandans living here. We experience no security issues and have access to all basic needs. We are able to study, learn ICT and English, and our children also attend school. I can't compare the life I live here in Rwanda with the life I had in Libya.
Alhamdulillah.
Sheikh Mustafa Sidharimana states that Rwanda's experience and commitment to human dignity are unquestionable, as the country is currently hosting more than 100,000 refugees.
Mu murongo wa nyakubahwa Perezida wa Repubulika Paul Kagame, uvuga ngo u Rwanda rukwiye kuba igisubizo gifasha kubaho neza.
President Kagame's leadership has positioned Rwanda as a solution for the well-being of humanity, rather than a problem. When it comes to receiving refugees and asylum seekers, several factors are considered. Rwanda has made significant progress in areas such as law, infrastructure, education policy, and healthcare. These achievements make Rwanda an attractive partner for countries seeking support. Additionally, Rwanda's experience in these areas further strengthens its credibility and capacity to assist. He also believes that Rwanda is not only a solution to refugee and migration issues in Africa, but also globally. Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Ambassador Olivier Nduhungirehe, says that Rwanda is currently engaged in bilateral discussions about a potential migration deal with the U.S.
a bilateral discussion between the U.S. government and the Rwandan government. Rwanda has been engaged in migration deals with the UK, as you will remember, but even with the UN and the African Union for the evacuation of the migrants stranded in Libya. And we are now in talks with the US about a deal on migration. So it's not the first time that we'll be engaging in such a kind of deal, but this is a bilateral issue, bilateral negotiation that is not linked to a resolution of the conflict in the region.
This is not the first time the government of Rwanda has engaged in such deal. Rwanda held similar discussions with the UK in 2023, but the UK later suspended the agreement. So far, Rwanda has received over 2,700 migrants, and around 1,500 of them have been resettled, mostly in European countries. Adam Squizera, RwandaTV News.
Now to regional security. In June, several heads of state, including those of Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo, are expected to convene in the United States to sign a peace agreement aimed at promoting stability in the region, with a particular focus on the eastern DRC. However, analysts specializing in Great Lakes regional politics argue that the successful implementation of this agreement will depend largely on the political will of the Congolese government. We have details on the story. The agreements will be signed following the preliminary framework agreed upon last month in April in the United States by both Rwanda and the DRC. Earlier this month, in May, a draft of the Declaration of Principles was also presented, as explained by Ambassador Olivier Nduhungirehe, Rwanda's Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation.
We indeed signed the Declaration of Principles in Washington on 25th of April. And according to that document, on 2nd of May, that was the date to generate the first draft peace agreement that will be signed at the White House next month. And I think both delegations, at least for our side, we provided our inputs, our contributions to these texts, which will be negotiated by experts in the coming days. And we will have a second ministerial meeting in Washington in the third week of this month of May. And then try to finalize that text, that peace agreement, which will be submitted to heads of state in mid-June for signing, together with President Donald Trump of the United States, but also with the heads of state of countries that have mediated in a way or another in this crisis. I mean, the President of Kenya for EAC, President of Zimbabwe for SADC, President of Togo, who is now the mediator of the African Union, and also the Emir of Qatar. So I think it will be a good moment to recommit ourselves to sustainable peace in this region.
Analyzing the content of the first Declaration of Principle, which includes sovereignty, territorial integrity, and governance, legal analyst Alois Mutabingwa states that for these principles to be fully respected, there needs to be extraordinary political will from the leadership of the Democratic Republic of Congo, as they hold the key to resolving the country's long-standing problems.
100%. These are issues that concern the DRC. The day the leadership of DRC acknowledges the existing problems they themselves have caused, and takes the lead in resolving them, there will no longer be tensions between DRC and Rwanda. You have to treat the tumor, the scar, and then apply oil for it to heal. Building an economy without the foundation of lasting peace and security is like putting oil on tumor. It will eventually burst. The main principle in these declarations of intent should be governance, because governance is where ideology stems from. Unfortunately, the ideologies that build the nation were ignored, while those that destroy it were given space. These kinds of politics must be stopped at all costs. This is not just affecting Congo, but Rwanda, the region, and ultimately the world.
The second principle calls for both countries to eliminate anything that could pose a threat to the security of both countries. Meanwhile, the fourth principle mainly calls on the Congolese government to repatriate internally displaced persons and refugees abroad, allowing them to return home. According to Dr. Eric Ndushabandi, these principles present a serious challenge for the Congolese government, given that it has already distributed weapons to civilians.
Iyo tuvuze peace agreement ko buri gihugu kigiye kureba ibyakorohereza ayo mategeko.
When we speak of peace agreement, it means that every country involved should find ways to facilitate its implementation as soon as possible, whether within 1 month or 2. What does this mean? It means that they must take into account the obstacles preventing peace. One major barrier is that a portion of the population was denied the right to live in their own country, which eventually forced them to take up arms and fight back. Signing a peace agreement should not be just a formality. It means committing to concrete actions, returning home, and actively facilitating the peace process, while also addressing the root causes of the conflict that have made peace so difficult to achieve. This is a significant task. It requires serious engagement and consultation with all concerned institutions to ensure a sustainable and inclusive resolution.
Political analysts also warn that Congo's failure to implement these principles could result in the M23 rebel group continuing to fight for its rights through armed struggle. In addition to the talks taking place in the United States between the DRC and Rwanda, other discussions have also been held in Qatar, again involving both countries. Furthermore, separate negotiations have taken place between the Congolese government and the AFC M23 rebel group. Rwanda has consistently emphasized that the security crisis in the eastern DRC can only be resolved through genuine political will from the Congolese government. However, the DRC has persistently ignored the root causes of the conflict and instead shifted blame onto other countries as a way of deflecting responsibility. To more news, the organization Never Again Rwanda has urged the relevant authorities to expedite the establishment of the national civic education policy as one of the measures to reduce issues that hinder national unity. Nora Gladys has more on this.
In discussions with the Commission for National Unity, Human Rights and the Fight Against Genocide, the Executive Director of Never Again Rwanda, Dr. Joseph Nkurunziza, stated that in general, Rwandans have made good progress in terms of unity and reconciliation. However, he noted that there are still issues of ethnic division, mainly linked to the genocide against the Tutsi in 1994.
Two, it's the intergenerational transmission of trauma. We've seen cases where young people who didn't even see the genocide against the Tutsi, but having some trauma, which at times it's transmitted from parents and survivors. So.
To their family.
To their family. So we need to join hands and work together so that we can minimize the consequences of intergenerational transmission of destructive trauma.
Dr. Joseph Nkurunziza, Executive Director of Never Again Rwanda, believes that solving the issues sustainably must begin with the education provided to young children.
This country has done a great job to unify the Rwandan people. But as we move forward and based on our interventions, we find that there is still more that needs to be done, more especially when it comes to civic education and dialogue among youth and schools. There is need to quicken the civic education policy so that we can be able to build a Rwandan who understands his rights, who understands other people's rights, who understands how his country or his government, his country is governed, and how he can participate constructively in building the nation.
The chairperson of the Commission on Unity, Human Rights and Fight Against Genocide, Honorable Madina Ndangiza, mentioned that these issues will be addressed after an analysis that the Commission is currently conducting on the National Unity and Reconciliation Policy established in 2020.
So that's one of the recommendations that the civic education policy should be accelerated and come to a conclusion.
Do you agree?
Yeah, I partially agree because I have no ideas with regard to how far the process is, and I think when we have a conversation with the Ministry of Unity and Civic Engagement, we're going to explore on how when they will be finalizing this process of policy formulation on civic education.
Honorable Madina Dangiza, the chairperson of the Commission on Unity, Human Rights and Fight Against Genocide, noted that some of the issues that hinder national unity include genocide ideology prevalent among politicians in some countries in the region and among Rwandans living abroad. Additionally, the Commission pointed out that trauma related to the 1994 genocide against the Tutsi remains at the level of 27%. Never Again Rwanda emphasizes that trauma is particularly concerning because its research shows that parents can transmit trauma to their children, leading to outcomes such as thoughts of revenge, suicidal tendencies, and other harmful effects. In Gladys, RwandaTV News.
Now to Rwanda's transport sector, the Rwanda Utilities Regulatory Authority has announced plans to harmonize electricity charging fees for electric motorcycles, aligning them with those already in place. This follows requests from electric motorcycle operators in Kigali who have been calling for uniform charging rates across all charging stations. These operators are advocating for a standardized pricing system similar to that used at fuel stations. Whereas Director General Evariste Rudigana assured the motorcyclists that the issue would be resolved soon. Emissions from vehicles, including motorcycles, are among the leading causes of air pollution in Rwanda. As part of efforts to reduce air pollution and promote sustainable transportation, there is an ongoing initiative to replace fuel-powered motorcycles with electric ones. To the education sector, the Ministry of Education sees that the RP Skills Challenge 2025, launched at the Rwanda Polytechnic Kigali campus, will contribute to the country's industrial development through innovation. 30 students are taking part in this competition, representing diverse fields such as welding, construction with a focus on architecture and design, industrial electrical installation, fashion design, and industrial automation. They express strong confidence in their chances of success, having developed innovative projects designed to address real-world challenges. Lieutenant Colonel Dr. Barnabe Twabagira, the principal of the Rwanda Polytechnic Huye and coordinator of this competition, says that students may benefit by securing jobs. And the Minister of State in the Ministry of Education, Claudette Irere, points out that the competition is expected to play a role in Rwanda's industrial development.
As we work to achieve the goals set forth in the Vision 2050 and National Strategy for Transformation, your skills and ideas are not just relevant, they are essential in shaping our socio-economic landscape. This skills challenge offers a meaningful platform to demonstrate your ingenuity, technical capability, and readiness to lead change in our industrial ecosystem. In today's fast-changing global landscape, technical and vocational skills are more essential than ever. The competences you acquire here will equip you not only for employment, but also to innovate, create jobs, and lead enterprises that respond to national and regional needs. You're the engine of Rwanda's industrial transformation. But let us also remember, success is not only defined by victory. Every challenge is a chance to learn, to grow, and to refine your craft. Embrace both your achievements and setbacks. They're all part of the learning process. In the face of adversity, resilience is forged.
The competition includes students from Rwanda Polytechnic campuses in Kigali, Goma, Huye, Musanze, Kitabi, Karongi, and Gishari. Now to Huye district, elderly individuals who have been saving through the Ejo Heza program are now receiving the funds they contributed over time, and they say the money is helping them in their old age. Those currently receiving their savings are people aged 55 and above. Some beneficiaries say that when they were first encouraged to join Ejo Heza, they had doubts about whether they would ever access the funds. Today, however, they acknowledge that the savings are making a meaningful difference in their retirement. Ejo Heza is a long-term savings scheme designed to give every Rwandan an equal opportunity to save and prepare for a dignified retirement. The program was established by the government of Rwanda through the Ministry of Finance and Economic Planning in 2017 and began implementation in 2019. So far, Ejo Heza has registered 3.5 million members across the country with total savings amounting to 45.2 billion Rwandan francs.
turakwibutsa ko buri sosiyete isabwa n'itegeko kubika ibitabo bya sosiyete ndetse no gushyikiriza RDB amakuru abikubiyemo. Ibyo bitabo birimo igitabo cy'abanyamigabane, icy'abagenewe inyungu ku migabane, inyandiko y'amakuru ya sosiyete, ibaruramari ngarukamwaka n'izindi. Gutanga amakuru y'ugenewe inyungu ku migabane wanyura kuri bo.rdb.rw, naho gutanga izindi nyandiko ukanyura kuri org.rdb.rw.
Nyiri muto arababwiraga data bati ntabwo wagira umukamo mwinshi utunze inka imwe, ariko nigeze acika intege. Mama akinjira mu bucuruzi hari abamubwiraga bati ntabwo watera imbere udakorera mu iduka rigezweho, ariko ntibyamusubije inyuma, yakoranaga umwete. Njya muri kaminuza hari abanshidikanyagaho bavuga ko nashobora kaminuza naturuka mu muryango wifashije, ariko byarangiye nanditse amateka mashya. Igihe cyo gutera ishema umuryango wanjye kigeze, bamwe bakomeje kumbwira bati ntabwo watera umuryango wawe ibyishimo n'ishema, ariko narabishoboye. Hari abakekaga ko nasigira umurage ukomeye abankomokaho, ariko ubu mfite uruganda rutunganya amata. Banki ya Kigali yabaye umufatanyabikorwa wanjye mu rugendo rwose, inzozi zanjye zibimamo. Bigereho.
You're still watching RTV News. Now to matters making headlines globally. Australia's re-elected government says its top priority is managing the domestic impact of global economic uncertainty. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese and the Labour Party secured a historic victory in Saturday's election. Now a key challenge for the new government will be navigating its bilateral relations with the US and China. Al Jazeera has more on this.
The post-election celebrations are over and it's back to Canberra for the re-elected Prime Minister. Anthony Albanese becoming the first Australian leader to win back-to-back elections in more than 2 decades.
We are deeply humbled by the result on Saturday, and we don't take a second of it for granted. The hard work will continue today.
The Prime Minister said he had a warm and positive phone call with US President Donald Trump. He said they spoke about defence ties and tariffs. Recent surveys have shown the Australian public's trust in the US has fallen after the imposition of tariffs on all countries, including Australia, which faces a 10% levy. Treasurer Jim Chalmers says the direct impact of US tariffs on Australia is manageable, but there is what he called a huge downside risk for the global economy, with a trade war brewing between the United States and China casting a shadow over the world. Donald Trump told reporters at the White House he's very friendly with Albanese. Analysts say the unpredictability of the Trump administration will continue to cause disruptions for Australia.
The increased uncertainty is bad for businesses and bad for financial markets, as we see with gyrations of financial crises.
The relationship between China and Australia had soured under the previous Conservative government. In Albanese's first term, that relationship improved substantially. Maintaining those ties will be key in the coming years.
Strategically, Australia is aligned with the United States, economically, and in terms of trade, aligned with China. So it's managing that relationship, and particularly managing it in the context of the new tariff regime of the United States.
China is Australia's top trading partner. Analysts say a slowdown in China sparked by the US-China trade war will have international implications. The local impact of a changing global economy is already being felt by small business owner Debbie, who sells customizable craft supplies online, with suppliers looking for alternative markets to the US and increasingly attracting Australian consumers.
We're finding that there's a whole lot of stock that's being produced for the US market, but then they're being shipped to markets like Australia, which are not affected by what's going on, which is the tariff.
She says she's trying to adapt her business to the changing circumstances to improve resilience. It's a priority the new Australian government also shares. Jessica Washington, Al Jazeera, Sydney.
Now to the United States, US President Donald Trump has announced a 100% tariff on all movies produced outside the United States. Posting on Truth Social, he claimed the American film industry is dying a very fast death and labeled foreign movies a national security threat due to their messaging and propaganda. Al Jazeera still.
US President Donald Trump's tariffs are now hitting the big screen. He's announced a 100% tariff on all movies produced outside the United States. He posted on Truth Social that the American movie industry was dying a very fast death. He also called it a national security threat, pointing to foreign messaging and propaganda. Well, the president also said meetings are taking place with a number of countries to secure trade deals, including with China. He told reporters on Air Force One his main priority was getting a fair deal.
Now we're not dealing with China at all because the tariffs are so high that they basically can't deal. And because of that, we're saving billions of dollars, you know. Well, you know, I want a fair deal with China, but China's been ripping us off for many years, so maybe something should be thought about, you know, a little bit of retribution. China's been ripping us off for many years, ever since they started.
Tonight's bulletin, but before closing, let's take a look at the top stories of the day. Rwanda is in talks with the United States over migration deal, and analysts say the move shows commitment to global refugee solutions. Rwanda and DRC leaders are set to sign a US-hosted peace agreement in June, and analysts say success relies on DRC's political will. On the international scene, US President Donald Trump has announced a 100% tariff on all movies produced outside the United States.
Outside the...
And that marks the end of today's bulletin. Thank you for joining us. On behalf of the entire news team, we wish you a productive week ahead. Stay safe and take care.
Mwese mukurikiye amakuru y'iteranyagihe bamwateguriwe n'ikigo cy'u Rwanda gishinzwe imikirere Meteo Rwanda giye kwageza ndi mukaza rukundo Clarisse. Uyu munsi mu kirere cy'u Rwanda haguye imvura yatangiye amasaha ya mu gitondo igwa mu bice bitandukanye by'uburasirazuba mu mujyi wa Kigali, mu bice bimwe na bimwe by'amajyaruguru ndetse n'ibyo mu burengerazuba. No mu masaha ya nijoro hakaba hateganyijwe imvura mu ntara y'amajyaruguru ndetse